Tracy Beanz has been on the show many times before. She's an investigative journalist at Uncover DC. And she brings us some of the best stories. If you remember the last time we had on Tracy Beanz from Uncover DC, she was reporting to us about how a bunch of U.S. soldiers went through Tacoma Airport to the province of Wuhan for the military Olympics. They came back, came through Tacoma again. That may be one of the flashpoints where it got out of Wuhan and into America, and pointed out that there was a big spike in America in what they call influenza-like illness. They didn't know how to call it coronavirus just yet, so they were calling it ILI. And now a whole new treasure trove has been uncovered in the Mike Flynn case, which gets sicker by the minute. And Tracy's video's down, but we did capture a photo of her from the last time she was with us. So, hey, Tracy, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for finding something of me to stick up there on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, we'd rather have you in studio. Second best is video, Skype. Third, we'll take your voice and your photo.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'm reading this stuff. I'm looking at this stuff. I personally can't believe some of it. It's like unreal.
Yeah, and from looking at the sort of leftist narrative trying to twist themselves into pretzels to defend this behavior has been quite amusing over the past 24 hours, I must say. Basically, what was released yesterday, so William Barr assigned a special prosecutor to take a look at how they handled the case of General Flynn. And in the course of doing so, found a lot of exculpatory information the FBI claimed they never had and also refused to hand over, and gave it to Sidney Powell and General Flynn. And then the judge allowed them to release it publicly. And what we got yesterday was basically an admission that they were setting up General Flynn in order to be able to either get him to lie, trap him into lying, or to prosecute him with the Logan Act, which has never been used in a prosecution in the history of the country, to get him fired or to get him, prosecuted, which is sick in the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the notes myself, and you see in what's in that pre-stat, you see in his notes, it says, what is our goal? Do we want to get him to admit something, or do we want to get him to lie? It's like,
yes, they went in there without a crime. They went in there looking to create a crime, which is basically the end all of this. As a matter of fact, Lisa Page in the same production emails Peter Strzok and one other person who's redacted saying, do we need to tell him, about the 1001 clause before we talk to him, or can we wait till after, trying to figure out how they can sneak in? By the way, if you lie to us, it could be a crime, which is supposed to be how you open every single investigative conversation. But they didn't want him to think it was an investigative conversation, so they were trying to figure out how they could cover themselves by sneaking it in later. Right. It's despicable.
It's unbelievable. And, there was a case going back, a year and a half ago with this woman, Maria Butina, who was the only Russian that was actually imprisoned here in the U.S., and she was supposed to be this big spy. I don't know if you know about her case, but...
I do, very much, yes.
It turns out that they were using a friend of mine, Dr. Patrick Byrne, as, an off-the-records asset, right?
Yep.
And he befriended Maria Butina. And it came out on Sarah Carter and other places, Patrick's own admissions, that he had told the feds on multiple occasions that while he enjoyed carrying on a relationship with this hot young Russian girl, he thought that they were misguided and she wasn't a spy. She's not the Red Sparrow, he's quoted as saying. And then after she went to jail and everything else, we find out that Brady information did exist and was never turned over. She was actually, if you remember, moved and, released from jail. So it seems like there was a pattern here of the government officials who are supposed to be protecting us were actually, fudging the law any chance they can get.
Correct. And I think as well as I do, there's a lot more to that story with Patrick Byrne that we are anxiously awaiting. So I'm interested to hear the rest of what he has to say. But yeah, this is something that they did often. As a matter of fact, they even went into a presidential brief to gauge a baseline on General Flynn to see if they would be able to tell when he was lying later, like just to get an idea of what his actions were like when he wasn't being interviewed by anybody, which is, and in that same exact briefing, they were also peppering Trump with narratives they wanted him to go back and talk to the media about. It's actually in a Judicial Watch production that came out on April 21st. We got a whole bunch of information, including another confirmation of this Logan Act that Peter Strzok had emailed Lisa Page a congressional sort of law paper about how to prosecute the Logan Act on January 4th of 2017, way before the interview of General Flynn happened.
Wow.
So they'd been plotting this for quite a while. This was not just a one-off thing. And there's a lot of reasons why. And I think we're going to learn a lot more possibly today about this.
You do? You think there's some stuff going to break today?
Either today or tomorrow for sure, yes. Sidney Powell has been, kind of hinting at it on Twitter that they got another production yesterday and they're working to quickly do redactions, and then they'll again ask the court to be able to release that information publicly. And Judge Sullivan doesn't seem to be very happy right now. Flynn's old attorneys, Covington and Burling, magically found another 6,800 production documents to give to the team that they were supposed to give when Sidney Powell took over. So I think he's sensing some shenanigans here, and he's been ruling very quickly.
Wow. So maybe there's a decent judge. I mean, the judge over in the Roger Stone case, I feel like this, I personally feel like the Stone and Flynn, politicized prosecutions, I think they're both going to come to a grinding halt, and justice will finally be served shortly. That's what I think.
I hope so. I think it's fruit of the poisonous tree, especially with Roger Stone. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong by having conversations with people. He didn't do anything wrong by talking about, potential drops that could be coming out from WikiLeaks after they'd already announced that there would be drops. None of this stuff is illegal. So you're absolutely right. And, I think a lot of these cases will start to be reexamined for fruit of the poisonous tree, because there was no predicate to start investigating President Trump, as per AG Barr. He's gone on the record and said that. And then by which case none of these people would have been put under the crosshairs here. So it's going to be an interesting few months, that's for sure.
Yeah, Tracy, I just talked about this yesterday on the show, that I said, this is like some maybe 6th grade law class. The one thing we probably all remember, the fruit of the poisonous tree. All this stuff comes back to one stinking poison tree that we're seeing a lot more and more people were actually poisoning. There was, it seems like every angle of the government can come at Trump, but yet all these people that are named, and it's obvious, it's in writing, it's there. I don't understand why there aren't any prosecutions of the investigators.
I know that's what people have been saying for a long time now, and people are getting really frustrated with this sort of dual-tier justice system where only conservative-leaning people go to jail for anything, and most of the time it's made up. It's getting frustrating for a lot of folks, but if there weren't going to be any action, we wouldn't be seeing this production right now. We wouldn't be seeing Durham, broadening the team that he's using to do these investigations. A lot of things that we're seeing now wouldn't be happening, and they would be being swept under the rug. So I'm hopeful, and I'm optimistic, and I'm pretty confident that we'll be seeing some accountability.
All right, Tracy, can I ask you about if you have any knowledge of, or if you could take a look at, but I kind of come down on all these Me Too sexual accusations. I kind of come down on the side of, everyone should be heard and believed until they're not to be believed. And the same token, there shouldn't be guilt by accusation. So I'm not, saying Joe Biden did this, didn't do this. Is there any good, legitimate reporters out there who've dug into this story and come down on it either one way or the other? Not political people. Like, is there a story here?
The Daily Caller has done some really good work on this, digging in and reaching out to tons of folks for comment, and they're following the story hot and heavy. There's a lot of corroboration at this point. There's also a lot of politics behind it, sadly. But the DC police just actually closed the case. So he was under criminal investigation, statute of limitations had expired, and Reed had come out and said, I didn't expect there to be any criminal charges coming from this, but I wanted to protect myself, AKA, I want to put this on the record somehow in case something happens to me, was the way I read that. So it's really it's just going to be a case of who wants to address it. And none of these women that Biden is kind of traipsing around as his potential VP running mate seem to want to say anything about it. I think that there is legitimacy to it only because we've got recordings from 20 years ago where people are talking about it. We've got 4 people that have stepped forward and said that they were aware of the story back then. The timing of it is interesting. He was vice president for 8 years and we didn't hear much about this at all. So that's interesting. But
right.
I mean, I guess we just have to wait and see. I haven't personally taken this one up as a token for myself to dig into.
Well, yeah, I saw Daily Caller, I guess, and someone I think polled every senator.
Yep.
And no one gave a comment. I find it unbelievable that Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, and Elizabeth Warren, 3 senators who are women, who are in the running to be vice president, none of them have even gone on the record yet.
It's pretty horrible. It really is. It says a lot about what the priorities actually are. Not so much that women should be believed when they come forward with sexual assault claims, but that they should only be believed if they do it and they're, against a prominent member of the other party. It's really sick, to be honest. It's gross.
Yeah, it's I don't get it, but the more I think I understand media, the more I realize I know very little. You know what I mean? Because it's how some of this stuff can get twisted into donuts, and they're all they're on the side of an issue until it's not their side of the issue. It's scary.
It's not media anymore. It's propaganda. It legitimately, by definition, the legacy media, the big media outlets are propagandists. They're not reporting facts. They're not reporting news. They're trying to sway the mentality of the American people in the direction of the preferred narrative. I don't think that anyone could really argue that, even themselves, at this point. So it's up to people out there to make decisions to look elsewhere for their facts and data and information so they can make informed decisions.
Well, if you want to get some facts and data and informed decisions, you go to Uncover DC. Tracy Beanz is one of the best investigative reporters. We have her on all the time. Hopefully, next time we can figure out the video situation, and
yes, sir.
We can do another Skypeification soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me today.
Tracy, thanks a lot. That's Tracy Beanz from Uncover DC.